Hey y'all, this is AL Thick Madame, and this is the recap review for Delilah. Gotta take me a good old deep breath because the most been going on over the last 12 hours. But anyway, really 24. But anyway, let's go ahead and jump into this recap review. So, Leah is at the office and it basically picks up where it left off last time. And Delilah is getting a sense that Leah, excuse me, is the one who has killed Gary Shea. And so Leah left out of the office in a huff and she was talking to her. And, she was just like, look, I was the one who found out about all this stuff that was going on that was, killing these soldiers and maiming folks. And I went to the big boss. I went to the good old boys about it. And they was like, I ain't really trying to hear what you talking about. Whatever. You fired. And then she went to Gary Shea. So she felt like Gary Shea would stand with her because he knew all this stuff had been going on with that as well. And so he was like, well, I mean, in her mind, she felt like he was like, girl, bye. I just had a brand new baby. I can't help you figure it out on your own. So after she left Gary Shea, she went to Delilah in an attempt to think that maybe she'll be able to help. And so Delilah was like, I got too much on my plate and denied her at first. But, you know, after everything happened with Gary Shea, the only reason why she went to him was because she felt like if she went to this white man and he got on her side, that she would take his case. So she went back over there to him again or whatever because she rolled off. First of all, she rolled all the way up on Fred, who was the dude who she was screwing. So she rolled up on him and, she got fired. But yeah, but when she rolled up on Gary Shea was like, I got a baby. Like, I got a fresh baby. The baby just came out the womb, or the baby was just about to come out. So what is you talking about? Girl, I can't help you. I got to live for my child. So, she's sitting up here telling Delilah that had she, taken her case, maybe none of this stuff would have happened. And so Delilah is like, excuse me? She was like, I went to jail behind this case. So she was like, did nobody tell you to take them files in an illegal manner and all this other stuff? Did nobody tell you to do none of this stuff? And, we all know what she went through. But we going to get to how trash Leah is further along, uh, especially at the end of this recap review, because I've been looking at her sideways and I definitely am all the way done with this heifer after this season. Well, after this episode has aired. So yeah, anyway, so a week later, they come back because she has decided that, of course, she gonna take the money. She was like, I'm just gonna be silent. I don't care what they talking about. I need my money. The little 2 weeks pay that they gonna give me ain't enough. I need that check. When they gonna run me this check? I don't care nothing about what y'all talking about. I don't care nothing about what you think you gonna do, Delilah, because I need my money at the end of the day. And I'm pretty sure she probably got blackballed and ain't gonna be able to do nothing. And they gonna give her an astronomical amount of money. So that's what she's talking about. They talking money. And she ain't trying to hear nothing nobody else got to say. So a week later, she comes back because the mediation is going to be held at Delilah's place, at the her office. And so she get there, and the only people that are there at the moment are her and Harper. And if Dimitri is there, she must be in her office. But anyway, Harper was like, if I may, can I, give you a little bit of advice and talk to you a few minutes? And so she was like, I mean, I guess. So she explained to her how Delilah took her case on a while back, and they basically ended up having to buy her silence, and she has regretted that because she already knew that all of this back and forth is and really putting her on display like that, it was gonna go on for over a year. And she already knew what it was gonna be hidden for. So she didn't really want to go through that because it was already a grueling situation anyway. The task was too much as it was, so she was just like, nah, I'm good where I'm at, even though it's something that she has regretted for the rest of her life. And so while she was in the middle of talking to her, she was like, just think about it. Tamara walks in because, both sides have to come in, and, Delilah is representing that heifer. Leah, however she pronounces her name, and Tamara is, essentially representing the company, who is the man who she had screwed. And anyway, so they're doing the little mediation. They have the woman who they chose that was going to be over it. And, she laid out the rules of how everything's supposed to go. And if everybody agree like they hopefully would agree before the end of the day, everything can go back to somewhat normal. Everybody can go back to their corners and all that other stuff. So old boy is not agreeing with the language. And in all honesty, all Delilah wanted them to do was to take out and put in the fact that she was not terminated because she was late, because that wasn't why she was terminated. So he didn't want to agree to it. And so she was just like, this is ridiculous. Why? Why can't we just agree to this foolishness? So, y'all, this is going to be a long day as far as this is concerned. Well, Delilah's ex-husband is bayed up with the heifer. I was about to say Consuela. I forgot how to even pronounce the heifer's name. Not that it's important to me at all, but y'all know who I'm talking about. The student that he had, that he ended up having an affair with, and, that's why his marriage is gone and dissolved anyway. But anyway, he bayed up with the heifer, and she wants to come to one of the children's situations. And so he was like, you just met them. That might be a little bit too soon. And, even though they've met, she just looking like, I don't understand the problem, but okay, whatever. So people still can't come to terms. They still trying to figure things out, because Leah is like, look here, y'all need to say that this heifer did not get fired. That's all I'm asking y'all to do, is to change the wording. A lot of the times people really do get caught up in the wording, even though we, as like us commoners, those of us who are not in the legal profession, we think that legal jargon or the words that we see, and we don't think it's that deep, but they know what it can mean for them. Tamara knows what it means for her if they actually do change it on their end. But we're going to get into that later. So anyway, the dummy Nate that met up with his daddy, and they're going to have to come up with a discharge plan, because he got to come home. He got to go somewhere. He got to figure out what he going to do. So the daddy was like, look here, you can come live with us. And so he was like, how is that going to work? Because, the woman ain't his mama. I understand that happens all the time, whether a person passes away or the relationship doesn't last and they have a step parent. But I'm just like, were you just going to just say, oh, this is what it's going to be because I'm bringing this check in this house? And is that what it is? And so, but he trying to figure out how this going to go, and are you just going to drop this in her lap? And he was like, no, the burden is going to fall on me. And he sat up there and he apologized for not being there, not being a good father. And I kept forgetting to mention this as the season progressed, because I don't know why I kept forgetting that. But anyway, y'all, I figured that the reason why the daddy wasn't around was because he was a police officer. It's like, kind of can't be around if you're a beat cop. Most of them, if not all of them, are in them streets all the time. It's a very tedious job. You got a lot of stuff you got to do. You got to be out there in them streets. So I knew he wasn't going to be present like that. But apparently he made a point not to be present. And we're going to get into some more specifics later on, because I'm like, there is one thing to be resentful of your parent, but the way the way that Delilah reacts to her father, it's deeper, and it has to be more than just that. So we finally get into that later on. So yeah, so the mediation's still going, and they've gone to their separate corners, and it got to the point where Delilah is like, I said what I said. I'm gonna have to pull out the big guns. And so since they wasn't trying to settle and on, actually changing the jargon, she pulled out her biggest gun, which she thought that she was gonna have to do anyway, because the other evidence was going to be inadmissible in court. And so she ended up saying that they already know that the wire transfer situation was a lie that somebody created because it don't link up, and y'all can't make it seem like Leah was the one who did it because this was something that happened long after the heifer got fired. So he trying to figure out who was the one who, came up with the information, and they learned that it was Mason who came up with it. But anyway, we're going to get to that later on because they made a point to let us know that Mason was the one. And I'm like, why are y'all saying all that? You know what I'm saying? Because she was like, yeah, she hired a private investigator and, said his name and all this other stuff. And I'm like, y'all putting a little bit too much on it. Now, why? Because my thing is, if it's a private investigator, as long as it is a legit private investigator and the evidence is real, then why y'all put so much emphasis on it? But I'm like, y'all did this for a reason, and they did. I'm sorry that I harped on that, but in my mind, I was like, okay, y'all doing this for some reason. In my mind. But anyway, I was like, okay, why? So, yeah, keep that in your memory bank. So anyway, they had to play that big gun. And so he was talking to Tamara and was like, should I change the wording? And do not think of me as your boss. Think of me as, did he say, he either said, don't think of me as your boss, think of me as your client or something like that. Because, and then like he really tried, man, he tried her. It couldn't have been me. It couldn't have been me. That would have definitely been the straw that broke the camel's back in that moment, because he was like, I know that's your homegirl. I know y'all got a homegirl situation and all that, but you need it. Like, he went all the way off. And I was like, oh no, somebody getting slapped. Somebody getting slapped up in here. Somebody getting cussed out and slapped, because he really did try her in that moment. But the heifer looked at him and was like, no, I would not change that wording if I were you. I would not advise you to do this. Because he was like, what would you advise me to do as your client? And she said what it was. So when they went back up in there and they realized that nothing was going to change, Leah was just going to get the money and it was just going to be what it was going to be. So Delilah felt as though that was a failure. She wasn't here for it. And when the woman walked back in there, Tamara tried to set it off and was basically like, what you're not going to do is, and before she could even get the first couple of words out, he set it off and walked off. And I'm like, girl, you couldn't even go off, because she basically was like, don't you ever in your life try me like that no more. But she couldn't even say that because he really was trying it. And then to add insult to injury, the woman that is, like the mediator, and I forgot the actual term for it, but the woman that they sat down and picked who was going to be the one who was going to be like overseeing the case, she was black too, because she was sitting there when the exchange was happening. She was like, all right now. like I was like, all right now myself, like, all right now, y'all doing a little bit too much. But I'm like, girl, you done did all this man done disrespected you about to lose your friendship, girl, bye. I don't have time. I don't like it. I was so tired of my spirit. So I don't know why this just did this, but yeah, I have there's a method to my madness as far as what I do. And I'm looking like, why is this acting like this? But yeah, so anyway, basically, Tamara's folks won the case. Yay. But no. Delilah's tired of her spirit. And before they all left and went home and all this other stuff, Delilah had a one-on-one with the heifer, and she was like, I couldn't advise my client to do anything else. She's like, me. And she was like, yeah, I do know you. And so she was like, you don't have to repeat yourself. I know. Like, she tired of her spirit. So yeah, it's real rough out here. I'm like, girl, you doing the most, because ain't no way me and her gonna have no kind of interaction. So anyway, Tamara done went home. Casey done cooked this elaborate meal. He got some short ribs or something in the broil about to come out, so they're gonna have to, have a little starter salad. But he was like, a couple of weeks back or a couple of months back, old boy, that Delilah is somewhat dating, had some paperwork, and it's basically like her folks talking about we not gonna pay y'all's slave taxes and all this other stuff. And y'all already know he came to Delilah with that information before, wanted to know what could be done about it. But anyway, he brought that information to her, and he was like, let me go in the room and get the paperwork. I've had it for a while. So she was like, yeah, put a pause on that and come over here and tell me why you were in Raleigh and ain't never said nothing about why you was there. So he was like, I mean, okay, we can talk about that when I get back, but I'm gonna go get the paper. It's just in the next room. I'm gonna get that and come back and we can do that. And so she was like, no, what you're gonna do is come back here and sit down and we're gonna talk about it right now. And I was like, oh my gosh, ma'am. So I was right. I knew I went crazy. This bastard went to Raleigh, North Carolina. Keep in mind, they are in Charlotte. Why are you in Raleigh, North Carolina? Your fiance ain't heard from you all day. She don't know why you there. You still ain't said nothing. They better not sit up here and get me riled up and then it's some kind of random surprise. I don't know. But he was like, can you just give me a pass this one time? So she was like, no, you need to tell me why you were there. And so like he was like, I can't tell you right now, but I promise you I will tell you. So she want to know when. Like, she's so desperate to have it all. And I mean, Casey seemed cool and all, but until I know what all this is, I don't know if he's just being overly mysterious or if he done the most and she need to be done with him. I don't know what is going on, but they need to stop. But he talking about it's gonna be very soon, so she ain't gotta worry about that. So she was like, well, I need to know before I jump that broom. And so he was like, okay. So yeah, back in the office, Delilah, Dimitri, and all of them, they are, still working on some stuff, but that fax finally came through. That information, that email finally came through that Demetria, tricked that old boy into sending to her, and there was a number that was on it. And so before Demetria could call the number, Delilah went on ahead and called it, and the number was disconnected. So they trying to figure out what's going on. So Delilah told Harper, find out who had that number last, because somebody who knows something about this case is the one who is the common denominator, and they would know what's going on. So y'all, Tamara and Casey are out and about, and they are with, I guess, Wynn Jr. Y'all, it's just so many of them. I'm just like one of the good old boys, but I think it's Wynn Jr., one of the juniors or whatever. And they're like at this, I think this is the area where they're going to have her wedding reception or rehearsal dinner or whatever it's going to be. And so it was bothering her so bad that the reason why this letter is so detrimental is because Wynn and all of them, his name on the paperwork. So she asked, if she could talk to him alone or whatever. And so Casey was like, I got to make a call anyway. So he went on out the door. This heifer went all the way off on him and was like, look here, you can cut all the BS. I don't want to hear nothing you talking about. Get your name up off that paperwork because y'all got my man all the way messed up. Y'all are doing the most. This is some good old boy mess. Why won't y'all pay this stuff? Y'all basically telling them that, oh, well, screw y'all. We ain't helping to do nothing. Y'all done already got y'all 40 acres and a mule. We ain't coming up off no money to pay the taxes on it. Y'all lost y'all mind. So she was tired of her spirit and was like, what we not finna do is this. And so he was like, look, are you willing to help me to push my daddy out the company? I done already helped to make you become partner. You partner now. So this heifer's wheels turning, and I'm like, heifer, please don't fall for the okie doke. Please tell me you're not this gullible that you're gonna fall for one of the oldest tricks in the book. This man is simply trying to tell her, I want you to do all of this work to get my daddy pushed out of the company so I could be the one over the company running it. And then you still gonna be looking like a fool slumming it for me. But for whatever reason, she ain't comprehending. So anyway, she listening to him throw this pitch this lie. And she was like, well, how long would it take though? It was like, could be a couple of months, maybe a year, possibly two. So she was like, 2 years? And he was like, look, sometimes you gotta play the long game. Sometimes you gotta play the long game. And I think like the long game or something like that is the name of this episode. What is it called? Yeah, the long game. And I mean, that's true in life, but girl, bye. You dumb if you sit up there and believe that foolishness. Don't nobody have time. So anyway, Delilah was at work, and earlier, when they found out this information, she pulled her to the side and asked Demetria if she would accompany her to go and talk to her brother and be representation for him because he's gonna, enter in a custody battle with the ex-wife. And so, for obvious reasons, Delilah is not going to be able to be the one to represent him, and Demetria can really hold her own. So, she here for it. So anyway, y'all, they done went there and they start talking. And so, Delilah, she's speaking as his lawyer in the moment, but then she starts finding out information she didn't know. She was like, wait a minute, what you mean you got somewhere to stay? Because she didn't even know where he was going to live and all this other stuff. And so this is when she finds out that he is going to be living with their daddy. Of course, she ain't here for it. And she ain't trying to hear nothing that he talking about because he, like I said earlier, he apologized and did all this other stuff. And she ain't trying to hear it. And so Demetria could sense the hostility and the thickness, the thick, terrible, what is it? The tension that was so thick in the room that you could cut with a knife. She was like, yeah, I don't really want to, get in y'all business, and so Delilah was like, well, don't do it then. But at the same time, if she gonna be his lawyer, she need to know what the problem is. So ultimately, he had to tell her what it was. They both were telling her that he wasn't there. He was a beat cop. He couldn't do what he was doing. But he was with their mama, and he was doing the most. And he was out here fighting and bopping. And it got to the point where they mama was so sick over him that she got drunk and was towed down all the time and in her feelings and depressed and drunk herself into a really deep, dark depression, had a stroke and died in front of Delilah while she was at the house by herself, and she had to be like 12 years old. And so this is why she harbors so much hate in her heart for her daddy, because she feels as though her mama was taken away because of him and he wasn't there. So you're an absent father, and now she ain't got a mama, and you think she's supposed to live for you? No, that ain't how it goes. So anyway, eventually she just got really riled up and she was like, yeah, I think we need to go. Y'all know Demetria ain't got a car right now, so she riding with Delilah. So if Delilah says it's time to go, we finna roll. So anyway, Delilah finally got home after having this long day at work. Why this heifer Tamara call her and ask her where she sleep? Girl, it doesn't matter at this point if she sleep or not, because you done called this heifer and it's at night. But anyway, so she was like, no, I was just getting ready for bed. So she was talking to her, and, at first she's going to try to make small talk, talking about, I sent the long form over, which is something that the heifer going to have to sign, and, agree to everything, all of their terms in order for her to get the check that she won't cut so bad. And so she was like, I saw her earlier, thank you. So then, she went on ahead and reminded her when the, rehearsal dinner, engagement party, whatever it was. And so she was like, I remember. Okay, thank you. I remember. So then Delilah ended up meeting up with the heifer the day that the check was going to get cut. The heifer was happy. And so it just got to a point where Delilah started connecting dots. And she was just like, for you to know all this stuff, okay, to make a long story short, this heifer was the one who had that number last. And so they're trying to figure out why you sitting up here doing all this. Man, Delilah went all the way off on this heifer. She was like, I went to jail because of your case. I did all of this stuff. I did all of this work, and you knew all the information ahead of time. Why did you sit up here and not say nothing when you already knew all of the information? And she was like, I didn't tell you to do that. I didn't tell you to get those files and obtain those files illegally. I didn't tell you to do all of these things. And so she was like, I turned down all these cases for your case. She was like, well, the only reason why you did that, the only reason why you even took my case was because that man died. And so, y'all, I was tired of my spirit. So anyway, this heifer trash. I'm so tired of live. Whatever. Do what you do, heifer. But she was just like, look, it is what it is. I got my money and I ain't got time. And yeah, I knew about all this stuff. But at the same time, after they had they, spat, Delilah was like, look, after you put me through all this stuff, you owe me something. Because you know too much information. You got too much information. I know they didn't wipe your stuff clean, but I know you. I know you got some information somewhere that you could give me that's not necessarily going to track back to her, be traced back to her or whatever, but come up off some information that's gonna help me. If it ain't gonna be for me or it ain't gonna be for you, do it for Nate. Because Nate did not deserve this. And so, of course, she didn't know that Nate had nothing to do with all this stuff before. But at the same time, Heifer, you knew all these people got killed and you knew all these other people got maimed, whether Nate was one of the ones in the number or not. But anyway, eventually the Heifer said, okay, I'll do it for Nate. So Delilah kind of rolled her eyes a little bit, but accepted it or whatever. So Delilah, I guess like the next day, went up and into like Win Jr. or no, Fred or whatever, one of them good old boys' office. I think it's Fred. Went to Fred Osborne's office and was like, to what do I owe this pleasure? And so she was like, look, you did what you did. You need to do something because you knew you was wrong. I already caught you in your lies. What you gonna do is this. Delilah told this man, what you gonna do is to come up off of $500 million for a fund that will be set up for the families of soldiers who have had situations like that to happen with them radios or whatever. Some kind of foundation that she told him he was going to set up. Eventually he agreed to it. And, she was actually bluffing in the moment and said that she found Pat and Gail, which she hadn't. And it is what it is. So anyway, well, Delilah ended up meeting up with her daddy. Nate is about to be released from the VA, and so they had a one-on-one. And so she was like, okay, did you lose your job because you ended up copying those files for me? And he was like, no, I retired. So she was like, are you serious? You told me you would never retire. And so he was like, no, I did. I retired. I didn't get fired. So they left out, did what they did. Cool. So the day of the little party, wedding reception, y'all, I don't even know. I done got so tired of Tamara. I don't even remember I don't know if it's an engagement party or whatever. I done got tired. So anyway, the day of that didn't happen. And everybody there, including the kids, Mason ain't there. So, y'all, the party going on, like major people are there. The mayor is there. Like everybody is getting introduced to everybody. Even Delilah's bae is there. So anyway, it gets to the point where everything seems to be going well or whatever. And Delilah and Tamara, go off to the side and they talking. And we already saw them talk about this before when they, tried to have a little meeting where, since she's supposed to basically be the maid of honor or whatever, they were having a moment. And Delilah tried to get the heifer to open up before and say, was everything okay as far as when he went to Raleigh? Well, the heifer brought it up this time. And so Delilah could tell the heifer ain't happy and that the most must be done went on. And so she finally confessed that, everything ain't rosy and he went off to Raleigh. I still don't know why. He won't tell me, but he told me he's going to tell me soon. And so, eventually she went on by her business, but Harper came in because she was like, girl, I don't know what's going on, but there go Harper over there. She was like, what? So, of all people, why would Harper just be busting up? Harper was high-stepping to Delilah and was like, I'm sorry to come to you like this, but I have to come to you and I got to talk to you because I just found out something that I didn't know that I would find out, but I had to talk to you right now. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, the woman who was working with Mason was supposed to, put in her resume with Delilah. Somebody was supposed to put their resume in with Delilah, and they talked about that earlier in the episode. And, well, the heifer missing. And apparently the last person who was seen with her was, of course, Mason, because they worked together. So they got a warrant out for his arrest, trying to figure out where he at, because don't nobody know where she at. So that's where it ended, y'all. The most popped off. I'm tired of Leia. She done irked my soul from the entire, basically the whole entire season. The heifer done irked my soul. So I can't. But anyway, what did y'all think of this episode? Because she just takes the cake for me. Like, girl, my thing is this. The things they've done to you, girl, they could kill you right now. You ain't even gonna get a chance to enjoy the money. But anyway, let's talk about this down in the comment section. Like this video and subscribe if you haven't. Bye.